The door, huh?
Well, no wonder they can't even run anymore.
One of the girls, isn't it Bella, that was raised in
Hi, how are you? I was expecting you. I'd love to see you. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Thank you.
Hate that in church.
Swift.
Hey, how are you? Good, how are you?
Did you guys get snow at the church place last week? We had that, we went to that huge trip thing on Monday, last Monday. And there were snow this deep. And a couple of parts of east and so on. Yeah, that's your side of the zone. Except for this. I gotta get this.
I mean, I don't know, if I should.
Sure, you bet.
Those guys, they were.
kind of goes up and down. It was like I was a year old. Just remember the brass knuckles, all those.
He's got some real grand voice for it too. He's really funny.
Really? Oh, I bet you he
It's
enjoys
really
it.
funny. He said almost when they argue, it's just like naturally. You know, he's just ridiculous. So it must be something. So now it's kind of funny. And the ones who aren't.
How many grandkids do you guys got?
16.
Well,
Yeah, 16.
really? I didn't
13
know.
boys and 6 girls.
Really? What is
From almost 19. Almost from this probably.
Wow.
All the ages in between. Super fun. There it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you get stopped by the train?
No, not tonight.
Is it still raining outside?
pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please, everyone, turn your microphones on and cell phones off. We'll have roll call.
Mayor Bain,
Here.
Counselor Anderson,
Here.
Counselor Baker,
Here.
Counselor Becker,
Here.
Counselor Quinlan,
Here.
Counselor Scalisi,
Here.
Counselor Sherman. Here.
Okay, we have the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes from our regular meeting of March 12th, 2018? Hearing none, they stand approved as submitted. Visitors and delegations. First one we have is the Sarah House, Paula Bragg.
All my board members are here tonight. So Melody's on my board and Ken Harrell. I know you didn't. Ken Harrell is also a board member. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. I really appreciate your support. Sarah House is the Child Advocacy Center and Sexual Assault Program for the 13th District, which is 7 counties. We have a 7-member board, and we're concentrating a lot on doing prevention education and getting around even to more of the counties than we have in the past. I think it's taken us a while to get ourselves planted in the work that we're doing. We have now 2 forensic nurses on staff, still just 1 forensic interviewer. I'm just trying to find another. We have 2 therapists who are trained in EMDR treatment, and then all of us are advocates. So we're plugging along really well, I think. Last year we saw 145 kids who had forensic interviews. Of those, probably about 20% had forensic examinations that maybe were just the wellness exam. What we do is an examination just to tell the kids that they are healthy little kids and normal. So I think that helps them to move on in their lives. So I feel like we're doing a lot of good work and seem to be growing. We have an office now in Yuma and trying to provide the services down there in those counties so that victims don't have to travel quite as far. I don't know that I actually picked the exact right spot because I wasn't figuring it very well, and some people still are traveling far. It's really hard in such a big district to manage everything the way that we wish we could. We have lots of support. We have our fundraiser that's coming up on June the 23rd, and that is Prairie Golf that we do at the Bath Farms. So anybody who's interested in that, we'd love to have you. And that grows bigger every year, and we always worry maybe we don't have enough spots for everyone. But so far it's worked out. But we make about $20,000 on that fundraiser, so it helps us out a lot. So if you're interested, please let us know about that. And I'd like to have my board members say what they wish to.
Yeah, on the board, one of the goals that we've had in the last few years with some guidance is to try to have a more broad knowledge of the issues that go along with the advocacy centers. And so we're trying to attend more trainings. Like, for example, last Monday we did an 8-hour training on human trafficking, and just to get a more broad knowledge of it all, so we can have on these discussions of the various things that come up and try to see what kind of expansion we might have to have as things go along in our area out here.
It's hard to identify human trafficking, so we're doing a lot of education throughout the district on what that means. It's not exactly what people picture necessarily. So we'll be having several of those trainings throughout the next 3 years to hopefully in the end establish a task force for the district on human trafficking. So that's the goal in the next 3 years.
Oh, I thought I was speaking next, so I wasn't prepared for this. I apologize.
I just threw you in.
Yeah, I was like, come on up. I just have to say that this is one very amazing woman. She helped me as a victim's advocate, right person, when my father was actually murdered several years ago. So I wanted to join the group and see what it was all about, see what I could do to help. And Paula's just amazing. What she can turn $1 into many, many dollars. So that's pretty much what I have to say, that I love this woman.
Yeah, you certainly provide urgently needed care in our community, and we appreciate everything you do. And we're happy to present you with a check for $500. Come over here. We normally take a picture, but our reporter's not here today, but thank you very much.
We really do, we appreciate your support.
Okay, next.
Do you want to accept for the rodeo?
Yes.
He was gonna be here.
Oh, he's gonna be here? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have money here for Brush Rodeo Association, so Joanne will accept a check for them for the fireworks that Brush usually donates.
Yeah, that's the Rodeo Association. I'm on that board, and we annually have the rodeos, you all know, and really do appreciate the support that the city gives us in all the many different ways that you do give it to us.
All right, thank you, Joanne.
This one is for $2,000
Yes.
for fireworks.
Yeah. Melody. Next, Melody is going to be up giving us a progress report on Central School.
Alrighty. Thank you for allowing me to come tonight to give you an update on Central School. A lot has happened in the last few years, so I kind of put this together in chronological order so you can kind of see what has been happening over the years. Central School was actually built in 1928, and it was the first operated under the platoon system, which originated in Detroit and was only adopted in 7 other school districts, including here. And we are famous. We're published in the platoon school in America, so all of these little tags are pictures of classroom, so your grandmother or great-grandmother might be in here. You might want to check that out. So a platoon school is one where students move from one classroom to another for each subject with a different teacher, instead of staying in a homeroom and having that same teacher all day long. So that's the difference in a regular school system and a platoon school. It has been unoccupied since January of 1997, which prior to that it was used for grades 3 through 6. In 2000, a hazardous materials survey was conducted by the school district. And in 2001, the school was listed on the National Register of Historic Sites. The current owner, Tim White of White Construction, purchased the building in December of 2003 from the school district. Tim did some maintenance of the building, which included boarding up some windows, removing barrels from the east side of the building, keeping grass and weeds mowed down, and some snow removal. Discussions on what to do with the building started with the property owner in December of 2010. So that was 8 years ago we started talking. Those discussions were held with various community members, alumni, school district, the Brush Museum, City of Brush, Morgan County Economic Development, and the Chamber. So these meetings continued for over a year with no final decisions made on what to do with the building. There were a lot of support from all these individuals and entities. And in February of 2012, it was listed on Colorado's Most Endangered Places, in which there was also a video made. You can view that on YouTube, actually, under Colorado's Most Endangered Places, so some good history there. And in October of 2014, correspondence began again with Tim on what his plans were for the building, and has continued actually through the current date. February of 2016, a historic structure assessment and feasibility study was begun. And that's this 400-page book that I have in front of me. And it was completed in February of 2017. It was paid in part by a state historical fund grant from History Colorado, the Colorado Historical Society, DOLA, Colorado Main Street Funds, which are part of the Chamber, and some matching funds from the City of Brush. Some of the sustainable uses that came out of that study were housing, offices for public entities, recreational space, health-related services, art, culture and heritage center, and daycare facilities. The study also broke down a prioritized work plan for the building into categories like critical, serious, and minor deficiencies, routine repair, and maintenance work. But the original building is generally in good structural condition. If you want to look at this, it's available at the chamber. I'd prefer not to take it out of the building, but if anybody wants to come and take a look at this, you're more than welcome. We've been researching possible resources in order for the building to not decay any more than it has. So History Colorado have grants available to assist in making the exterior of the building more appealing to possible buyers or developers. There's historic tax credits that we'll do more research on. There's the Brownfield grant. They assist with funding for cleanup of historical structures. That would be the inside of the building. As you all know, there's a lot of little bit of pigeon poop in there, so we have to take care of. There's another company called Secure View Company. They have a product that is clear, unbreakable plexiglass that's used in buildings that are undergoing rehabilitation or restoration. Something else that we're looking at and taking off of the plywood and fixing up the windows that are broken, that kind of thing. So in 2017, the Colorado Main Street Department of Local Affairs funded a market study, and they stated, and I quote, "Downtown Brush offers a compact, walkable scale and a sense of community that is unique to Morgan County," unquote. Central School could fit into this walkable portion of downtown Brush, which would also include the already popular East Morgan County Library. Both buildings are listed in the Downtown Brush Historic Walking Tour brochure. In October of 2017, a meeting was held with the school board asking them if they would consider taking the school back. After much discussion, they decided they did not want to take the school back. So, at the end of October 2017, the Chamber Foundation Board voted to acquire the building from the current owner, which we are in the process of doing at this time. Once we acquire the building, we will be applying for a History Colorado grant in June and other sources of funding, as I previously stated. We'd like to reassure the community that we don't feel this is a huge eyesore that, of a building, and it has potential and an opportunity to be so much more. There is already so much invested in Central School, as I've just stated, everything, the National Historic Register, the Colorado Endangered Places, the grants that have been, and the studies that have been done on this, that we want to make every effort to see it survive. So just to clarify, this is an endeavor taken on by the Brush Chamber Foundation, which is different than the Brush Chamber of Commerce. So if there's any questions, I would be happy to try to answer them if I can.
Is he cooperating with you?
He is actually, he's cooperating. He is, the only thing we're waiting on right now is the contract from his lawyer. So we did a title insurance commitment through Northern Colorado Title, and everything is clear and fine. He's paid the 2017 taxes, so everything's clear and ready to go, just waiting on that contract.
Yeah, that's good news.
Yes, very good news. So,
Any
anybody
other
else?
questions? Thank you very much, Melody,
Okay.
for the update.
You're
You've
very
done a lot of
welcome.
work on that.
And we'll come back and give you more updates as things happen, so
Okay,
thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, this is the time in our meeting where we invite citizens to speak to council on items that are not on the agenda. There's a 3-minute time limit per person unless otherwise noted by the mayor. Please note that no formal action will be taken on these items during this time due to the open meeting law provision. However, they may be placed on a future posted agenda if action is required. Is there anybody that would like to speak to council? Okay, moving on to management. First item of business, 5A, is a letter to the Brush School District concerning Brush Middle School use. I'm not sure, are you giving? Okay.
I can fill in here. At a prior work session, City Council discussed what future uses we may want to look at for the middle school property, since the school district had invited the city to look at this. We actually opened that up to department heads to propose different things that they thought that would be useful over at that particular location. And the culmination from that work session was council directing staff to prepare a letter that expresses the city's interest in the technology building. So you have in front of you this evening in the packet that letter. This is just a first step, and it allows Monty to continue talking to Dr. Wilson about the future of the technology building and where we would be going from here. So with that, I guess we ask for council's blessing on the letter.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve or deny a letter to the Rush School District?
I move. That we approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Andrea, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Sherman?
Yes.
Counselor Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Counselor Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes. Moving on to finance, 6A.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve disbursements and payroll for March 12th through the 26th of 2018, totaling $317,150.17.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Counselor Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes.
Counselor Sherman?
Yes.
Okay, at this point in the meeting, Joanne's going to give a presentation of her 2017 year-end financial overview. If anybody wants to stay for this, is fine. If you want to leave, that's fine.
Are you
Thank
saying
you
this
again.
is a boring conversation?
Oh, no, I'm not saying that at all.
No reflection.
Just not sure how long it might take.
Well, I'm hopefully not too long. In front of you, I gave you a handout. The top of it says General Fund Budget to Actual Cash Balance Comparison. Year-end cash balance and comparison. So the top piece is the 2017 budget. As you can see, we budgeted a beginning cash of $1,446,434. We also budgeted revenues of $3,594,000 and expenditures of $4,267,705. And with that, that would have left us with a year-end cash balance of $772,854, which was above our 3 months of expenditures. Not by a great amount, but we were comfortable with that. So as the year progressed, then the next area we have our actual history. The actual ending cash balance, we were relatively close to that, not too far off from that. Then our annual revenues were $3,928,359. Our expenditures $3,704,530. And then the net difference between accounts receivables and liability, which be such as your payroll, miscellaneous accounts receivables for property cleanup or for accrued interest on CDs and that type of things, would be your difference of that $54,305. Our actual year-end cash balance was $1,616,010. That equates to a difference in the actual cash balance in the positive of $843,156. So the general fund had a very good year last year. The breakdown of the excess cash through the year end was our excess revenues of $334,234, unspent expenditures of $563,175, and then just a few notes. We did not use 13% of our budgeted expenses. So department heads did very well in managing their budgets this last year. Normally that number is around 7%, 8%, but we actually see 13%. The overall revenues were up by 9% last year. Sales tax was up 6%, so it ended the year stronger than what we had anticipated. And our use tax for building permits was actually up $70,000 more than budgeted, and a large portion of that is loves. The street department didn't use 27% of their budget expenses, and that equates to about $201,000 of that $563 that's in the unspent. Normally we see the police department being the one that turns back the most, but this year it was actually the street department. Okay? The next page is the water fund. They began the year with budgeted beginning cash balance of $1,046,858. 12 months of revenues was budgeted at $1,107,200. Expenses was $1,369,040, and our year-end budgeted cash balance was projected to be $785,018. Our actual beginning cash was $1,032,351, so it was roughly $14,507 less than what we had budgeted. Our actual revenues for the year were $1,371,868, and our expenditures were $969,834. Our net difference between our assets and our receivables and liabilities was $49,310, and our actual year-end cash balance was $1,385,075. That was a difference, the cash difference of $600,057 in the positive. So it had a very strong year as well. Breakdown of that cash is that we had excess revenues of $264,668. We had unspent expenditures of $399,206. The overall revenues were up by 24%. We did increase water rates last year, and so the revenues off of the metered sales was up by $74,802. And then we did receive plant investment fees from East Morgan County Hospital in Loves that equated out to another additional $141,240. And then there was 29% of our budgeted expenses that were not used in the water fund last year. And the water fund is actually one that Monty and I may come back in the near future. As you recall, 2 years ago, the general fund loaned the water fund to purchase that land there, and the water fund is now looking strong enough that we're thinking that they could just pay back that general fund outright and not have to put out that additional interest that it's putting out on that loan. So we'll probably be coming back in the next couple months or so. The trash and garbage fund, the 2017 budgeted beginning cash was $272,055. Our 12 months of revenues is $618,500, and our expenses is $786,050, leaving a budgeted cash balance of $104,505. The actual beginning cash was $282,399, which is roughly $10,344 more than anticipated. Our actual revenues for the year was $542,445, and our expenditures was $623,957. And then our net assets and account receivables and liabilities was a negative $97,79. Our actual year-end cash balance was $191,108, and so that equates out to being an additional $86,603 and an ending cash balance that was not anticipated. And with the trash and garbage fund the size that it is, that $86,000 is significant and a good addition to that trash fund. The breakdown of excess cash through the year end, the additional beginning balance, as I said, was $10,344. Uncollected revenues was actually down $76,055, and the bulk of the reason that is because this fund we had budgeted for a lease purchase because we had a trash truck in here and we felt that our funds were low enough that we were going to have to do a lease purchase to be able to get that trash truck purchased. We did not do that lease purchase. As the year went along, the trash truck came under budget and our revenues were doing well. So we did not take out the lease purchase. We elected not to do that because the fund did not warrant needing to do it at this time. So we're saving taxpayers that interest on that loan. Okay?
Did you buy the truck anyway?
We did buy the truck, yes. The truck actually was $42,210 less than what we had budgeted. The unspent expenditures was $162,093, so that helped this fund as well. Let me see. Service fees increased by approximately $10,000 to the fee increase. And in 2018, council may recall that our ordinance states that we would do the Denver Boulder CPI on the trash fund for 3 years. 2018 is the third year. of that Denver Boulder CPI increase. It has helped this fund significantly, and Monty and I will be coming back to council in next month or so, or a couple, 3 months, to have discussions on increasing that and redoing that ordinance to do that Denver Boulder CPI probably for another 3 years. I know council during budget retreats, we've had several conversations on doing that. And we did not use 21% of our budget expenses. Okay? Wastewater fund, 2017 budget. The budgeted beginning cash was $1,284,687. The 12 months of revenues, $1,647,265, and the 12 months of expenses, $2,185,770, bringing our year-end budgeted cash balance to, proposed as $751,382. Actual history is that at the end of 2016, our actual beginning cash balance was $1,377,583, which is approximately $92,896 more than what we had in that budget. Our actual revenues for 2017 is $1,804,284. Our expenditures are $1,664,610, and the net difference between accounts receivable and liabilities $33,143, bringing our actual year-end cash balance to $1,484,114, and that cash to budget difference is $732,732. The breakdown of that, as I said, the cash difference was $92,896. The excess revenues is $157,019, and the unspent expenditures is $515,960. And then our overall revenues were up by 10%. We once again had plant investment fees, and those were approximately $157,500. But we did not receive any grant money, because you may recall we had a capital project out there for the biosolids process out at the wastewater treatment plant, and then we didn't end up getting that grant that we had applied for, so then that a capital outlay item did not occur. So the revenue off of that grant that we had budgeted for, we did not receive. Sewer fees were up $51,996 is what we actually got off of that due to the rate increase that we imposed last year. And this year we have the Denver Boulder CPI that we had also put in that ordinance at the time. We did not use 24% of our budgeted expenses, which is largely attributed to those capital outlay projects, because that deal at the, my brain just went blank. The deal at the wastewater plant was over $200,000. And we didn't spend that, so that's a large portion of that. On the stormwater fund, our 2017 budgeted beginning cash is $344,168. Our 12 months of revenues is $804,040. 12 months of expenses is $1,202,425, with a year-end budgeted cash balance of $145,783. Our actual beginning cash was $353,126, so it was actually $8,958 more. Our actual revenues for 2017 are $707,448, and our expenditures are $650,251. The breakdown on that, our revenues are actually $96,592 less than what we had budgeted, and our expenditures are $352,174 less than what we had budgeted. Our overall revenues were down by 12%, and the federal grant budget was off by $96,993. So if you look at the excess revenue being down, it's right at what we were missing in that federal revenue off of the grant for the downtown project. But because of the way the budget fell in 2016, I had to budget these higher. You know, we didn't know how much of that project was going to be completed in 2016. So that's why it has that difference. We did not use 35% of our budgeted expenses, and 24% of that budgeted expenses, which are largely attributed to the capital outlay projects, which once again is the bulk of that is that downtown project and that federal grant, and having to budget that a little bit high for 2017 because of the unknowns in 2016. So with that, that's the overall budget overview of 2017, and all funds fared very well and had very positive years.
Good to hear.
Got any questions?
We never know until we look back in hindsight, but that increase that we did across the board made a big difference, I think.
Yeah, it helps. It does truly help, yeah.
And it was a long time in coming.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think that's been a good move for the city. Okay,
Any other questions? Thank you, Joanne.
you're welcome.
Moving on to staff reports, do you have anything?
I have one item. I'd just like to make council aware that, as you know, every year I apply for a rebate for our solid waste. So it's a recycling rebate that I apply for, and every year we get that rebate. Well, this last week I got a letter from them that they had an additional $86,635 left in their rebate plan, and their board opted to give that money out to all of the entities who had applied for rebates back in July. So we are going to receive an additional $465.74 in recycling rebate. They're not big, but they do help that trash fund a lot.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Police Chief Travis.
Feels like they were back in statistics class. It was a pretty busy week for us. Wasn't able to give us statistics from last week, but I believe we had 484 calls. 2 weeks prior, for this go around, we had 510 overall calls. I'll start out briefly. We had Moxie got 2 ounces of meth from an individual that was on parole. We had a pursuit on Thursday when an agency assist on a stolen car. At the same time, we was working on a pretty significant case over at 3 Noah Court involving a kidnapping and a second-degree assault. We got search warrants for the residence, went in the residence. SWAT team hit it. During that time, we found overall about $100,000 worth of stolen property, and so that's a multi-agency endeavor, and the guys have worked really hard, 20-hour days, and trying to address that issue. We have 2 people in custody. 1 is on the run, and we're looking at charging additional people.
All right, thank you.
And one of those calls was mine. You know about it?
Yeah, no, this was totally separate than your call, yeah. Oh, the 510 calls? Yeah.
One of those. And do you have any update on my case?
I can't discuss any active cases, no.
Yeah, you can't discuss that at a council meeting.
If you guys, I parked close, and if it's still light when we go out, take a look at my car. It happened after a council meeting, last council meeting.
Yeah, the best thing to do is get a hold of the officers that's taking care of the case.
I will. I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention.
Okay, community development, Karen?
I just wanted to note that we're in the height of our tree season with the city's various tree programs. On the council calendar, Arbor Day is noted for Thursday, April 26th. We are celebrating at 8:45 in the morning, so early bird gets the tree in this case. I'm sure the 3rd graders are preparing and looking forward to that big day. And then part of the city's tree program is making available trees at half the wholesale cost. So that program is up and active at this point, that if somebody would like a tree for their front yard, they can come down here to the front counter at City Hall and look at the variety of species that are available this year and cut their check for half the price, and we'll get it delivered to them in April. And that date runs through April 2nd, where you can sign up for a 50/50 tree.
Okay, thank you, Karen. City Clerk, Andrea.
Just to update you on some of the activities on our calendar, today we had the pet clinic at City Hall Garage, and it looked like they were busy. Joanne helped out there, so she could probably give a little bit of report.
We had 45 animals between cats and dogs that were vaccinated and given various rabies and different various shots.
And next week is the emergency operation drill in Fort Morgan, and they've been doing some pretty good press releases, so you might want to watch for those. And that's all I have to report.
You know, I asked him and he didn't have anything else in addition. I just wanted to ask Andrea, isn't some of that emergency operation drill happening in Brush as well as Fort Morgan?
I think so.
Yeah, it is, okay.
He would know.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind touching on that for a minute, just so
Sure.
council's up to speed.
Every year or every so often, National Guard has to do a small exercise, medium exercise, and a large exercise. Well, this is going to be their medium exercise. Tornadoes situation happens in Fort Morgan, and we're having all the agencies come in addition to the National Guard, air units out of Wyoming. They'll all be coming in. Throughout the week, it's going to be an entire week exercise. National Guard is going to be housed down here at the fairgrounds with all their equipment. In addition to that, you'll probably see some of the National Guard people roaming around because we've got a couple of exercises in the city that we're going to do, some roadblock type thing, security checks. So you'll probably see them in their Humvees and whatever military vehicles roaming around. And again, it's just an exercise. There's different things scattered throughout the day. They're doing things at Cargill's, Pawnee, Fort Morgan, do some things down here. So it's a wide breadth exercise. So.
I have heard there's supposed to be possibly 1 or 2 Black Hawk helicopters that may land down at the fairgrounds during that exercise.
It's possible. We
Possible.
don't know yet.
We're not sure
They've
yet.
got
Okay.
6 or 7 different landing zones, and
Okay.
so that's probably something we'll know at the last second.
Okay. All right, thank you, Chief.
No, I didn't hear anything else. Mayor.
Okay, moving on to mayor and council reports. Do we have any council reports?
I'll report on the museum and the library as a liaison.
Okay.
I'm so impressed. We are so fortunate to have these people in charge of the museum and the library. It was just amazing. And the museum is planning in April, they do their spring outing with the kids from the school. And they have like, they teach them farming, ranching, rope making, toy making, construction, telegraph, it's the whole thing, and it's just, I said, I'm just tired, you guys, from listening to all the stuff you're gonna do. It was just amazing.
All right,
They're really doing good.
thank you for that, Marlene. Anybody else, council reports? I have one thing, or actually 2 things. At our last council meeting, Councilor Anderson, you challenged Dr. Wilson by saying that he backed out of his obligation to the community garden. I want to set the record straight on that. Dr. Wilson and I talked before a council meeting last week. He was concerned, as well as I, the safety considerations with the community garden, with the level of construction that was going to be going on this year. But I want to clarify that he did in no way back out of his obligation, and actually he had no obligation. The school district was gracious enough to provide us with the property to house that garden or to host that garden. Same thing with Ebenezer. Ebenezer was gracious enough to give us that property. In both cases, construction concerns, which are a good thing, I think council would agree for our community, that is what took the garden out. And actually, it wasn't Dr. Wilson's decision anyway, because we later made that decision at our work session last meeting, and the council decided to include the community garden on the recreation master plan. So I want to set the record straight.
Well, you aren't straight. It was to be a permanent place, and he did pull out. I spoke with him myself when I went by and the locks, we were locked out, and that was to be a permanent spot. I don't know what Monty and Mayor Schoenberger had said to him, but we were all here when we talked about it. We left a year absent, and we waited to find a permanent spot, and that was supposed to be a permanent spot, and that was our understanding.
That was not my understanding, that was not former Mayor Schoenberger's understanding,
Well, why
nor
couldn't he
Dr.
speak to
Wilson's
himself?
understanding.
Well, and I see it differently. I think they did pull out of their obligation.
We made the decision
After,
not to have the community garden and to include it in the recreation master plan at our work session last meeting.
we did
This
that
was not Dr.
after,
Wilson's decision, this was our decision.
we had the meeting after Dr. Wilson had already decided and talked to Monty about the construction issues. This had been going on for 4 days, Rick, between Thursday and Monday of our council meeting.
What I'm telling you is the discussion that I had with Dr. Wilson, him and I talked about it. I told him I was taking this to council. He did not put a stop to the garden. I told him I would bring it to council. Council would talk about it at the work session on Monday, which is what I relayed to you in a text message on Saturday, and we would be discussing it. So no decision was made unilaterally of council in the community garden.
Are you saying that he was still willing to have, let us have the garden over there?
He
for
had,
this year?
he had concerns about safety, as did I, that we decided to let council make the decision on this at the work session.
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
I understood it completely different. I had spoken to him and he, asked when we could have the fencing down and taken out, and he was, convinced already that he wasn't gonna be able to let us go forward.
Well, that's not the discussion I had with him.
Well, and I talked to him myself.
Okay, the other thing I want to mention is that last week, the school district superintendent, myself, Monty, met with a member of the Colorado Conservation Board because the school district had questions about how they could move forward in a newly designated floodway with respect to the designation. So Colorado Water Conservation Board came out. It was a good meeting, and I believe they provided the necessary information to the school district that they needed to consider for future development of that site. And just want to report back to council about that.
Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we don't have a work session scheduled tonight. We're gonna go into a retreat for a finance talk by Joanne. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.